You got Trey Hendrickson, Tyler Linderbaum, George Pickens, Daniel Jones, and Alec Pierce as your top 5. All right, so that's Frank's 5. With those 5, which guy do you think steps in somewhere and makes an immediate difference?
And the easy answer is Trey Hendrickson. Obviously, I have number 1, so I should say that. But to me, if I'm a team out there, Linderbaum is my guy. I am saying center is a premium position. I think we underrate it a lot of times. He's 26 years old. He has played at a high level, former first-round pick, and now all of a sudden he's a free agent. This is the type of guy who this isn't a one-year fix. Like Trey Hendrickson is up there in age. Like I don't think you're getting 3 quality years out of Trey Hendrickson. I think I'm getting 4 or 5 out of Tyler Linderbaum. So this is the perfect free agent. Most free agents are flawed because they're older in their career. They only have a couple of years left. You're overpaying a guy for the front end of the contract when you know the back end is going to be bad. Linderbaum, I think, is you can give him a 5-year deal at a good price, and centers aren't overpaid. You're not paying like he's a left tackle. And I think you get a very good 4 or 5 years out of him. So he'd be the guy who I think steps into all these teams talk about, we need to fix the offensive line. Go get Tyler Linderbaum. You're going to be fine.
Sticking with Taylor Linderbaum for a moment, I think that we see so many bad offensive lines in the NFL because it's really hard to build. Because it's really hard to find good, high-quality offensive linemen in free agency. You have to draft them because teams just don't let good quality offensive linemen out the door. So all of these things, like we know that Tyler Linderbaum is reliable. We know that he's young. He has a lot of football ahead of him. He has that built rapport and relationship with Lamar Jackson. Is it as simple as the Ravens are just going to let him walk? What can the Ravens do to keep him in the building?
I know. And that's the thing. You start with the Baltimore Ravens. You're like, you can't pay everybody. Like Isaiah Likely's another guy who I'm sure they would love to pay. They're probably not. Charlie Kolar, their third tight end, is getting a lot of interest already in the free agency buzz. So, you can't pay everybody, but he's a guy I would prioritize. I'd be trying to lock him up to a long-term deal. I'm sure they are. But honestly, like a lot of these NFL free agents, I get why they stay. Don't get me wrong, but I'd be like, I'm hitting free agency and see what contract offers roll in, because when you look at free agency every year, we make a big deal out of NFL free agency. We all do it. We're doing it right now. But here's the truth, just between us, right? Free agency in the NFL usually is not that good. You look at this top 25 list, and there's guys who, again, a top 25 list should be pretty good. There are guys on this list who I'm like, I guess. Like NFL free agency, teams lock up their own guys. So if I'm one of these guys at a prime position who's a very good player, I'll say, let me test the market. Like, get me to March 11th or whatever the first day of free agency is. I want to see what contract offers roll in, because free agency usually stinks, and I'm going to be the belle of the ball, and I want to see how much money I can make. I wouldn't sign with the Ravens early if I'm Tyler. Why? Like, there's no point to it. You've gotten this far.
Yeah, by the way, I looked it up. Last year's Patriots are the first team in history. Nope, never mind. Last year was the first year that a team spent the most money and actually went to a Super Bowl, the Patriots. Other than that, I'll tell you guys quickly, 4 of the last 10 years, only 4 times in the last 10 years has the highest paid team, spending team, I should say, actually made the playoffs. Back to you guys.
Really? Wow, great stat.
It is a great stat. And last one before we move on to your next group of free agent rankings, looking at Daniel Jones. This is a tricky one, in my opinion, because I do think that Daniel Jones could get the Sam Darnold, the Baker Mayfield contract, but any team that signs him to that has to understand that, let's say if it's a 3-year deal, pretty much 33% of your investment is going to be thrown into the trash, because I would assume that Daniel Jones will not be available for a large part of next season, if not the entirety of next season. What happens with Daniel Jones?
I don't know. It's so, like, if he got out of last season healthy and they played well in the second half, I mean, I'm not even talking like you replicate the first half because they were on fire. We remember how good the Colts were on offense in the first half. You just be decent in the second half and you get there healthy. He'd be number 1 on this list by far. Like, I don't even think there'd be a question, because there's so many teams that need quarterback. Daniel Jones played at a pretty high level last year, and kind of the lights seem to turn on for him in that offense. But that's not the case. Like you talked about Carolina. I don't know what you do with him. I don't know what you do if you're the Colts. You have Anthony Richardson, who's not happy. There's buzz that he's going to ask for a trade out. If you're the Colts, do you just assume that he's going to re-sign with you? I don't know that you could do that. We've talked about on Inside Coverage with Andrew Siciliano, Charles Robinson one day. We talked about the franchise tag with Daniel Jones, and I was kind of like, you almost have to. I know it's $42 million or whatever, but I don't know what choice the Colts have. You can't let him walk, but you can't overpay him because of the Achilles. This is an injury. And Daniel Jones is different than like a Kirk Cousins who we saw tear his Achilles. And he struggled too, by the way, coming back from that injury. Daniel Jones lives on athleticism. Like, and we don't think of Daniel Jones necessarily that way, but he's an athletic guy who likes to run the ball. That makes him a good quarterback. I don't know if that comes back this year, next year, ever. I just, it's so complicated with Daniel Jones. It's such a high price. I really don't know what the Colts do. And I don't know what any team does with him, really.
I have no idea what's going on.
Yeah, he's a tricky one to figure out. Understanding the quarterback market, though, there's going to be a team that's willing to sign up for, 50% at the most of Daniel Jones next season. But I do want to get into your next group of power rankings of available free agents this offseason. 6 through 10, we've got Devin Lloyd, Malik Willis, Jalen Phillips, Odafe Owe, and Breece Hall. I'm going to skip ahead to the quarterback position because, that's just the world that we live in today's football society. Malik Willis, it keeps coming up as my own personal example, and I feel like everyone's example of a free agent that will get overpaid this offseason. Where does Malik Willis make sense? And can Malik Willis be a starting quarterback in the National Football League? Because I was in Nashville when Malik Willis got drafted by the Titans, and I saw a whole lot of bad.
Yeah. No, yeah. If that's your first exposure to Malik Willis, I literally watched. I remember there was I think a Sunday night game against the Chiefs, and he had to start, and I'm like, he can't play. He is not going to last in the NFL another year. And for him to go to Matt LaFleur and the Packers, rehabilitate himself, look good when he's had to play, totally startling turnaround. I thought Malik Willis. You go back to that Ravens game, which was really the Bears game too. He played really well off the bench, but that Ravens game was that's his free agency resume right there. Just send the tape to some team. Say, here's what I could do if I start. He was great in that game. He was fantastic. And you look at the package of skills. He's got the arm. He's got the athleticism, played really well in that offense. I don't know what to do with him, but I do know, look, Caroline, we've talked over and over already on Inside Coverage about this quarterback carousel. And I'm sure, you've thought about it and talked about it too, where there's way too many teams who need a quarterback and way too few options available. That's why Derek Carr's talking about coming back, because he's like, I could start for some of these teams, and he would probably. So when you look at Malik Willis, I keep bringing up Inside Coverage. We've argued about this on the show. I think he's going to get more than $25 million a year, which sounds crazy for a guy who has such little experience. But supply and demand here, Caroline. You're right. He's going to get overpaid. And you just hope. You hope that like that guy from the Ravens game shows up for 17 weeks next year. And if he does, you've made a good investment. It's just very, very risky, but I think some teams are going to risk it. Look, the Jets, the Cardinals, the Dolphins, I don't know that they can afford it, but they're a team involved in that. There's a lot of teams that need a quarterback. The Colts might need a quarterback for all we know. There's a lot of teams that are like, we don't know what we're doing a quarterback. The Browns, like there's a bunch of teams that have no idea who their week one starter is.
And I think there's going to be a plenty of general managers that can justify it and say, $25 million is still a bargain in this quarterback market when just okay run-of-the-mill quarterbacks are making $40 to $50 million a year. And hey, if he's bad, well, then we'll be bad enough to pick our quarterback in next year's draft because everybody is talking about next year's draft as being the elite premier quarterback draft. But back to your 6 through 10. You mentioned the Jets. Breece Hall is a free agent this offseason. If you're the Jets, I don't think that Aaron Glenn's seat is super cushy and cozy. So you want to do everything that you can to make your team better. You can't really afford to lose Breece Hall for nothing, but can the Jets right now afford to pay Breece Hall top of the market running back money?
I don't. I just don't. The Jets are just one of those teams that you just have no idea what they're going to do. Reports are that they're considering a franchise tag and it might do it. Maybe it's just the part of me that wants to see Breece Hall with a real NFL team and not the 33rd NFL team, right? Like, I would like to see Breece because I think he would sign with Denver. I think Denver's a spot. I think Denver has so much money to spend this offseason. Sean Payton loves spending money. They need a running back. I'm kind of like, wow, Broncos with Breece Hall. That'd be really interesting. If he gets tagged by the Jets, I'd be like, oh gosh, really? Breece Hall back to the Jets. So that is, I will not lie to you, that is affecting my worldview of Breece Hall and his free agency here. So I don't know. I don't know why the Jets would re-sign him. But like you said, yeah, you want good players, but they're not a running back away. Why would you pay $14 million franchise tag hit for Breece Hall when he's not? You stink. You're a bad football team. Why pay for running back of all things? But I guess they will because they're the Jets and they're just spin the wheel. That's what the Jets are doing. They're just spinning the wheel. Where does it land? Oh, Tag Brees Hall. That's what we're going to do today. That's what the Jets do.
I think that's the perfect reaction to just the Jets in general is when you put your hands over your face and just like took a deep sigh. Like, that's the Jets. That's the only thing that you can say about the New York Jets is just, who knows? They're going to do something dumb because that's just what they do. But let's bring up your next group of free agents. 11 through 15, we've got Rashid Shaheed, Kyle Pitts, Kenneth Walker III, Travis Etienne Jr., and Khalil Mack. I see two reigning Super Bowl champions on this list, and Rashid Shaheed and Kenneth Walker. We did learn that the Seahawks do not intend to use the franchise tag on Kenneth Walker. Are you surprised by that?
A little bit, yes, because the good vibes, right? Like, that's just, I don't care how good of a general manager John Schneider is and how they put together their football team. You fall into that trap of, let's run this back. Let's bring the band back together. Let's win another Super Bowl. And in Kenneth Walker's case, obviously coming off the MVP, played so well in that Super Bowl. You want to reward guys like that. And so I am surprised that they're probably not going to use a tag, but I do believe he's coming back. I really do. I think also the injury to Zach Charbonnet late in the year, ACL. So you're probably not ready for week 1 if you're Zach Charbonnet. Do you want to replace both of your backs? I don't think so. I think Seattle, who has a lot of cap room, by the way, Seattle has I think the 5th most cap space in the NFL going into the offseason. It might have changed. It's so fluid with cap space, but they have the cap space to do it. He is a good player. Like, he's obviously a big part of their Super Bowl run. I think that something works out. They might not want to franchise tag him for the 14, but I do think something works out because you don't want to replace both of your backs in the offseason.
No, you do not, especially when replacing your offensive coordinator, who is such a massive part of your championship run consistency.
Absolutely. That's a good point. Yep.
Kyle Pitts is another one who had all the expectations in the world, and where he was picked in the draft.
You're giving me the toughest ones. You are fighting the toughest ones on this list because I'm like, don't ask me about Kyle Pitts because I'm just going to do a shrug emoji. Can I do that?
Frank, I'm making you earn your paycheck this morning, okay? Because my same thing with Kyle Pitts is like, I don't know, like, he's definitely not come to fruition based off of expectation. He was the second leading receiver, second leading tight end in receiving yards this past year. Was he just the unfortunate beneficiary of bad offenses? Is Kyle Pitts, the savior for the Rams? Is the Kyle Pitts the savior for another tight end needy team out there?
Yeah, I don't know what to do with Kyle Pitts at this point because rookie year was awesome, right? 1,000 yards. Obviously, the draft pedigree. He was one of maybe the greatest tight end prospect ever coming into the draft. Then you go years 2 through 4, and you're like, oh, God, Kyle Pitts. He's terrible. He's a bust, blah, blah, blah. Comes back this year. By the way, yes, I was one of those people who went against Kyle Pitts in the fantasy football playoffs. You remember that game when he scored like 45 fantasy points? Yeah, I went against him. So I've seen a lot of Kyle Pitts look like a new player this year in a new offense. Arthur Smith, I don't know why Arthur Smith keeps getting buzzed as a play caller because he's no good at it. But you get out of the Arthur Smith offense, you reemerge year 5, and now you're like, Kyle Pitts isn't that old. He still has that draft pedigree. He has 2 really good years in the NFL. I don't know. Like, do you bet that that's the Kyle Pitts you're getting? Or are you getting years 2 through 4 Kyle Pitts? I don't know. The one thing about him, I don't know why the Falcons wouldn't consider the franchise tag here. It's only $16 million for tight ends, which is a lot less than receiver. Remember the whole Jimmy Graham argument years ago where Jimmy Graham was like, come on, you guys use me as a receiver. Why am I getting the tight end tag? Same thing applies here where I believe the receiver tag is $28 million. That's what George Pickens is getting. So, we only got to pay 16 to Kyle Pitts, and he's basically a receiver in our offense. Why wouldn't we do that? I would franchise tag him if I was the Falcons. Kind of, here, let's do it one more year. Let's see if he could do it, Kyle, and then we'll talk about it after the season.
I do want to kind of speed through these next 2 and pick out 2 players in particular. You have Kirk Cousins listed as the 16th free agent available. You have Aaron Rodgers listed at 24. A couple of old dudes. And Kirk Cousins had expressed to at least me at the Super Bowl. He said, I want to come back. I still have, the fire left in me. I still want to play. Aaron Rodgers' future is at least a question mark. If he comes back, where does he play? Is it the Steelers or bust? Are those 2 playing in the National Football League next year? And where makes sense?
Yeah, Kirk, absolutely. I think no question about Kirk, right? Like he said, like he told you guys, he wants to play, and he played well. I wrote Kirk Cousins off. I'm not going to lie. I saw the guy in 2024 coming off an Achilles injury, which I should have accounted for a little more, and he got benched for Michael Penix. I just said, this guy's cooked. He just got nothing left. Played really well in the second half last year. I'll tip my cap to Kirk Cousins. I've always respected his career. I think he gets a lot of guff that he doesn't deserve. So I think Kirk is back and somewhere looking for a bridge. We can't draft a quarterback this year, but we need somebody to play. Again, Arizona, Jets, Browns. I don't think the Dolphins can afford him, but a team like that where you're like, we just need a short-term guy to get us to the 2027 draft. That's what you're looking for with Kirk Cousins. Aaron Rodgers, I just have no idea. We don't know with Aaron. We might not know till June, like last year. I think Minnesota makes a ton of sense. They're looking for a veteran. They talked to him last year. Obviously, there was this dance and they didn't do it. But now you want to bring in a veteran backup for J.J. McCarthy. I don't know that Aaron Rodgers. I mean, I guess Aaron Rodgers knew the deal last year when he wanted to go there. So he knows the deal this year, and it's even shakier for J.J. McCarthy. So I think Aaron Rodgers plays. I'd be like 55-45 on that, but who knows with Aaron? We will not know until summer. I can almost guarantee you that.
He's going to have to go on a few ayahuasca trips, a couple of darkness retreats, a couple, I'm not going to say strange, experimental journeys before we figure out what his future might be. But before we get to one name that was not on your top 25 rankings was Tyreek Hill. He just posted a photo with a little geo tag of Kansas City. Is Tyreek Hill a Chief in 2026?
Tyreek was tough. I almost included him in the top 25 just because he's a big name. But I just kept going back to this, Caroline. He's going to ask for a lot of money. We don't know if he's accepting a secondary role, but because that's where he is at this point in his career. He's 32. He's coming off that nasty injury we all saw. And he's a guy who has always lived off, I'm the fastest player in the league. Well, he's not going to be the fastest player in the league anymore after that injury, I don't think anyway. And we know Tyreek Hill's baggage. He's not just a good locker room guy you bring in for good vibes. A lot of stuff in Tyreek Hill's past, right? So I just wonder. I don't know. I can't assess the market on Tyreek Hill right now. I think he will get paid by somebody on a one-year deal, a team that really needs a receiver and just hoping to catch lightning in a bottle, those great years we saw at the Dolphins. But I think there's so many red flags up right now. And it's not just off field. It's not just on field. It's both. I don't know what to do. I don't know if Tyreek Hill could have 1,500 yards like next year or 5 next year. I would believe either one.